Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Ari Hirschberg, Community Practice Lead at the Exchange Lab. In July, the Exchange offered Face-to-Face with Racism, a webinar that shared Stephanie, Tolu, Roland, and Dea's stories with racism. We had 627 view the live webinar, and over 700 people have listened to the recording on YouTube since. We want to thank everyone again that attended the webinar in July for being part of the conversation. Your thoughts have given us a lot to think about, a few next steps, and the ability to share with other parts of government with much more knowledge on the subject so they can learn and design for us all in the BC government. This is the second podcast of the two-part series on Face-to-Face with Racism. The first podcast featured Dea and Stephanie in August. Today I'm connecting with Roland. Thank you, Roland, for joining me and sharing your thoughts on the podcast.
Very, very welcome. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Ari. Appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. So let's begin. What was it like after the webinar? Like what's happened since?
Yeah, after the webinar, it was a heavy session as far as myself and the three panel members. It was a lot of emotions involved during the actual session, and following that, I remember being like mentally drained. It was a lot. It was a lot, but we all knew that it was important for us to share our experiences and our stories, and try to just kind of educate individuals and try to help people understand what we're going through when it comes to racism on kind of a regular basis. But following the session, the amount of love and support, encouragement that I received from friends and from a lot of strangers was incredible. I received so many different emails and texts and instant messages and stuff. It was really something that blew me away. It was overwhelming. It was beautiful to be able to just be yourself and just kind of share your story, and then having it impact so many different people, and people were able to reflect on how they felt during the session, and then also kind of what their steps are kind of following the session and moving forward. So it really was a powerful moment for myself, for the panel members, but also for people that were listening. So I really appreciate all the love that was received, and all the very kind and as I said, encouraging words. Now from that, it's been a blessing in the sense of, because sometimes you feel like in life, I know myself, obviously I'm not speaking for all members, but like BIPOC members, but for myself, sometimes you feel like there's so much that we need to do when it comes to the fight against racism, and sometimes you feel that your single voice isn't enough, or you need to do more. And even though the case is that we can all do a lot more, myself included, there's a ton more that I can do as well. It's just the importance of taking every opportunity that you get to use your voice and to really speak out about this is crucial. And so from that session that happened last year, it's been incredible as far as people are not contacting me kind of on a regular basis when it comes to reviewing diversity and inclusion strategies, different like D&I websites and resources. People are kind of asking for my feedback and my thoughts around things, and a lot of that it stemmed from the fact that I was part of this panel and shared my story, that people were able to understand where I was coming from and got a good sense of what I've been through, and now they're very interested in me being part of different things, on government-wide and outside of government as well. I've done a number of podcasts outside of government, which has been great. So that it really opened up a lot of doors for me, and it was it's something that I didn't realize was going to happen, and I'm so happy that I used my voice as it was tough. It was tough to kind of dig that deep and share a story that was so. It was painful, but it was a story that I fully own now, and so sharing that was important. And from that, so many things that have happened, and even being part of our government's just like different things. Now I'm part of a D&I working group, and just kind of having these opportunities now that are being presented because of people's knowledge of kind of what I can bring to the table, and kind of how I can use my voice and the contacts that I have and stuff. So it's been really, really powerful, and ever since that session, and now because of that, I'm encouraged even more now to get involved. So whenever somebody's asking me if I can help out in any way, I'm definitely super excited about being involved now because I know that one thing can lead to another, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and just like so. Even though it's just words and various things, that's now turning into action, right? So as far as using my words during my blog post, and as far as like writing blogs and using the words during the webinar, that's led to some important action of myself and Carrie Cavers are now creating, who works for the Ministry of Citizens Services, are now creating a BIPOC group for the whole government, for the whole BC government. So this is like the opportunity of like, I wouldn't have, Carrie and I probably wouldn't have connected if it wasn't for things as far as our involvement with different things that we're doing. And then somebody saying, hey, you should speak to this person, or you should speak to this person. And Carrie and I met, and now we're at the start of creating something that's going to be extremely special, like a actual safe environment for BIPOC members to share their experiences and tell their stories and to get more involved. So it's kind of like, it's the first step. It's the first step, and there's still so much more to do. But from the webinar, it's like a lot has changed, and a lot of positive things have happened. So looking forward to kind of keep it going and kind of keep pushing and seeing where we can take things, because at the end of the day, it's important to make the change that we need to make a difference in this world, to fight against racism, and also to do a better job at like diversity and inclusion and just like racial equity. So we're all on board and trying to do like what we can with that.
I'm happy to hear that that you've been able to use your knowledge and your voice much further in the last, I guess it's 8 or 9 months since.
Yeah, holy crazy. Time's flying.
Yeah, the year that was slow and fast at the same time.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so what is white privilege to you?
That's a good question. Now, white privilege. Now, like privilege in general, like we all have, there's different levels of privilege, and some of us have different privileges in different areas. So that's a whole different topic. But when it comes to white privilege, to me, and kind of the way that I see it is, it really is just like the kind of like the automatic assumptions that some people will place on individuals just based on their skin color. So when it comes to like entering a room without even knowing kind of who the person is, whatever, it's like people's assumptions. And when it comes to white privilege, those assumptions are very positive most of the time. And so when it comes to the rooms that I walk into, unfortunately, some of the times there's a lot of negative assumptions that are made, unfortunately. And this is so when it comes to white privilege, I know for my wife who's white, Alana Best, she also works for the BC government, and she's amazing. Alana and I and our kids, we traveled the world in 2018. So we took the full year off and traveled. So she got a real like face-to-face case and situation when it comes to the reality of white privilege, and it was an eye opener for her, which was very important for her to receive, because she now has 2 small black kids. So the more that she understands the whole structure around white privilege and what it means and what it can do for individuals and how it impacts like people that aren't white, like, for her to get better knowledge of that, it just makes things, it just gives her some more awareness, so she's able to kind of like stick handle around things differently, and now using her voice to talk about it and to share her experiences. So when we were traveling and stuff, she couldn't believe the differences as far as how I was treated compared to how she was treated, because my much darker skin. So when it came to like the airports and stuff, constantly the random checks, and she was used to it, and I was used to it as well, as far as the random checks at security at the airports, and then even just walking around in like art galleries and museums, I would just tell her kind of just have a look at how the security guards move around. I'm 46 now. I'm used to this, unfortunately. I'm used to this kind of behavior from certain people, just assuming that because my skin is a certain color, that it must mean this or that about me, unfortunately. So me pointing that out to Alana to kind of observe what's going on, it was just a massive eye opener for her, and made her very angry, and very upset with not realizing how bad things are. Like a lot of people, if you don't live a situation in this kind of life where you have to deal with whatever the case may be. In this case, we're talking about racism. If you don't have to deal with it, or if you don't have a lot of friends or family that will share their stories about it, you just don't know. And sometimes there's some ignorance around that, but sometimes just kind of just the reality of not knowing something. And so for Alana, she really became well aware of how things are and how people around the world, it's all over. Like we dealt with it in so many different places during our travels, and so now she knows kind of like how the white privilege is seen, and how like how it benefits her in certain situations and stuff, right? So when it comes to entering a room, and it was it was a lot. I would enter a room, and before even saying a word, I had people like pointing and laughing at me, and then making sure that their family or friends that were in the same group, tapping them on the shoulder to make sure that they look over at me because of the color of my skin. And there was just like, so having the people laughing and pointing, it was something that was like, yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. And so this is where the privilege comes, where it's just like there's this assumption that kind of helps people like kind of negotiate situations, but also figuring out how to kind of use that, to kind of figure things out. So when I step into a room, I have to deal with that. So because I'm used to it, I don't let it kind of impact me as far as stopping me from enjoying the moment that, it's not going to ruin my day because I'm used to it. But when it comes to seeing it for the first time really takes a lot, like emotionally, it takes a lot of other people. I know that she was really taken back like quite a bit because of seeing how the differences that we were treated because of the color of her skin. And with that comes the reality that situations can be dealt differently because of white privilege. So for example, and these are things that might seem minor and stuff, but it adds up, right? It adds up when it comes to everyday life stuff. It adds up when it comes to you just trying to navigate through a situation or through a life, and then this kind of roadblock or challenge is kind of thrown in your face because of the privilege that somebody gets because of the color of your skin. So when it comes to this, there was a story when in France, myself and Alana and our two kids at the time, we were in this grocery store, and it was like a 2-level grocery store, so this massive store, and as which was the case like quite a bit in different areas. I was I noticed that the security guards, they were always kind of like a few hours like around me and kind of keeping a close eye on me. So I told Alana to just check this out. So she was stepping back and she was observing it, and she couldn't believe how they were just trying to pretend that they were looking at a shelf, and it just always happened to be the same aisle that I was in. So it was kind of, so she would see it firsthand. And then there was a time during that same visit to the store for Alana, it was she had this massive bag, like her own personal bag that she was using, because with the two small kids, it was just easier to use a bag that had a big handle on it for her. So she was using her own personal bag and putting stuff from the store into her bag instead of trying to push around this cart that had a bad wheel and stuff. So she's using her own bag and just kind of walking from the aisle to aisle. And then there was a time when she was like, she had to go grab something from the other floor of the store. So she asked me to hold the bag, and I thought she was crazy. I was like, there is no way I'm touching that bag. And this is a thing where it's just like, that's something that, I'm not saying all white people or whatever. I'm just saying that this is something that they wouldn't have to think about. Like that, holding her bag and filling her own bag and personal bag, she didn't think twice about it. And this is even after, as far as her knowing kind of the different privileges that we're going through and stuff, but she didn't think twice about it because it's just like there's no issue, like there's no kind of consequence, but for me to hold that bag, just in my own head, I was like, there's no way I'm holding that bag because I know that could lead to a situation. And as a Black person, from the day one, I always taught never give authority, a chance to, or kind of any excuse to kind of act the fool. As far as never give authority a chance to have an opportunity where they can, like call you out on something or use some extreme force or whatever. So we're really kind of it's this kind of mindset that BIPOC members have and different people have when it comes to some of the privileges that they receive because of the color of their skin or the lack of privileges that they receive. So when it came to that bag and explaining to her that I'm not holding that bag and stuff, and this is a story that she shares with a lot of her friends when she came back to Canada, and it's a story that people can really they relate to, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I would just walk around the store with my own bag, or I would have some products from one floor and go up the escalator to the other floor and carry the products without thinking about there's any kind of issues of people watching me or something. But my thing is that and she knew this as well, is that if anybody confronted her, this is the difference here. If anybody confronted her about saying, are you planning to steal that stuff, or excuse me, miss, that you can't have that bag full of stuff, whatever, she would be able to step up and stand up for herself and raise her voice and create a scene, because she knows that there's no consequence of that. And for myself, I would never, I'm gonna say never, but I would not be creating a scene where it's kind of like screaming and this and that and creating a little confusion around what's going on and stuff and a discussion around it. So that's the thing where it's just the difference of when it comes to white privilege, just that assumption of like, you know what, I can talk my way out of this, and also people don't have an assumption that I'm doing something wrong based on the color of my skin. So that's just a very, there's many layers of the white privilege, but this is just a small sample of it. So to me, it really is just a very general statement of it, is just the assumptions that are made based on people's color of skin. And as far as white people, the assumptions are usually very positive and kind of on a different level than, unfortunately, how it is for myself and different people that have skin color that isn't white. So it's kind of a breakdown of it a little bit.
Thank you for breaking that down, because I know for myself, I remember hearing that term many years ago, and someone said white privilege, and I remember my shoulders getting tight. I'm like, what do you mean white privilege? Yeah. And I mean, I never thought of it, and then I started learning about it, and I got it. But I think I see it a lot when people hear it the first time. It's like, or they're still trying to haven't had a story that makes it like, oh yeah, I get it. Shoulders get up. It's like, what do you mean?
Definitely, and as far as the shoulders get up and defensive, for sure, because when that term first came out, there wasn't a lot of examples of different things and what it means. And I know that the first thing that people assume when it comes to white people and hearing like that term, more so before, things are changing more now, but as you're saying, when you first heard it, people are very defensive, because it's like the way that it was coming across was that there was a privilege as far as like the status that you have in life now, you were given as opposed to working hard for it, which isn't the case. That really, like white privilege is not, it's not solely about that. It's like, it's not saying that's what it means, where it's like you haven't worked hard at all, like, everything's been given to you. Like that's not what I'm saying at all, and that's kind of not the kind of the angle of the white privilege. But that's how it was. Some people have that feeling still, being like, no, I work just as hard as the next person. I don't care what color they are. I work just as hard. It's like, okay, yeah, we get that for sure. It's the assumption of when somebody sees somebody for the first time, or somebody comes into a situation just based on the color of their skin, as opposed to, what their job is or how hard they work, whatever. Just a straight up assumption for different situations, and not being judged or kind of put into this negative space because somebody's skin is darker and stuff. So yeah, for sure, it's changed a lot, because people now know more about it, and now not kind of quick to jump to conclusion of it meaning like, oh no, as far as the level of work or work ethic that somebody has, it's not about that at all, So now people are starting to understand more and more. But you're right, as far as people's shoulders are up, and they're just the whole that term white privilege, you just get people very defensive, they were right away kind of thing. So yeah, for sure, that was a thing for sure. And the thing is, if people don't talk about it, and that's the beautiful thing about having this podcast and what you're doing, Ari, and stuff, is just like the more that people hear about things, they kind of understand a little bit at a time, right? Like, and none of us know everything, and none of us are just are on this path where everything, they were saying everything correctly, we're doing everything right. All of us are making mistakes and stuff, so we're all just trying our best to keep moving forward and thinking about other people other than yourself, and other than people that might look like you or act like you. It's kind of like, to build the community, like, you need to care about everybody around you. So this is what's happening more and more. But yeah, so eventually we'll get to a level where where more people are talking about it and stuff as well. But this is a good start for sure.
And it becomes normalized.
That's the goal, right? The goal is for this to be that way, that everybody just kind of thinks about life and kind of goes through it and is fully aware of what it is and stuff, and understands it, and then shares it with their kids, with their friends, and talks more. The more that we talk about this, the better, right? So the more that we talk about it, especially if for people that don't have that firsthand experience of it, right? Then they need to hear stories, and they need to kind of hear kind of people talking about it on the side or whatever. So the more we talk about it and have cases and opportunities and platforms like this to discuss it, the more that will educate people, and which is the goal. The more the people know, the less they'll be like this is kind of just this misleading information about things, or kind of this misguided feelings about something, and like, it's just kind of like, the more that we share our thoughts, the more that we share our knowledge and situations about things, the better the whole community will be. I feel that, at least.
Thanks, Roland.
No problem.
Okay, so this is a question that I hear a lot, that I wanted to ask you.
For sure.
What are your thoughts on, where are you from? And is there a way it could be said better?
Thank you. That's a good question. And that question is that's an interesting question. And it's one that's been, again, that's one that's been talked about more and more recently. And it's awesome that's being talked about, because I'll be honest, I was just talking to somebody at work a few days ago about this question, and I'll explain some of that later. But that question is, now, when it's presented to me, because I've been asked that question like so many times in my life, and growing up and stuff, before was always like, why does it bug me so much? So when I was a small kid, and I grew up in Winnipeg, Peg City, and so I wasn't, I was kind of like the only black kid, like per grade. There was like one or two black kids per, in each grade. So most of my friends, were white, and when I was asked that question, it was kind of like it was a thing where my other friends, they weren't being asked that question the same way, but I didn't know why it upset me so much, and I didn't know really. I just didn't know kind of where it was coming from as much, but I knew that it just didn't feel right. Now, so fast forward like many, many years, and it's something that people are talking about and being more aware of how that question is received by BIPOC members that are being asked that over and over again. So again, like when it comes to my wife, who who I mentioned is white, when we're standing together and somebody comes up to us, and as we were traveling and different things, it's different when we're traveling for sure. But even like here in Canada, if people come up and ask, as soon as she says, Regina, I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan, people are like, okay, cool. And it's kind of like, it's so funny too, because she always gets asked first, and gets asked pretty quickly, because some people it's different levels of people. Some people are smart enough knowing that I can't just ask him. If the two people are standing together, I need to ask both of them. So this guy, they'll ask her really quick, and then the focus is on trying to dig into where I'm from. So when it comes to, so she'll say Regina, Saskatchewan, people are like, good, cool, and then they move on to me. I'm like, yeah, actually, I was born in Vancouver, BC. So the same kind of response that my wife gave, But for some reason, it's never enough. It's so interesting. It's like that question, and you see, and nowadays, I'm sorry, I just don't have time to be Mr. Kind and a nice guy when it comes to that. Like, I'm not gonna be like as far as like give them information that I know they're probably digging for and stuff. So I just stand there, and a lot of times you could just see them, instead of being like, okay, good, thanks. So Vancouver, the BC, moving on. It's like, so they're kind of trying to figure. So back in the days, it wasn't even a hesitation. It's like, no. Like, where are you from? And it's like, and I was like, so I just have a look and being like, again, this is happening again. And now what's happening is that people, because again, people are talking about this, and I saw this great campaign about this in the BC with the Human Rights Commission being like where are you from? If I ask you where are you from, am I racist? And it's just these things where it's just like, it's just a statement where people don't think twice about it, but people need to start thinking about it and about how it impacts the people that are hearing that. So when I hear that question, first of all, I get a look on my face, kind of like pretty upset look, in the sense of like, you do realize that there's non-white people that are born and raised in Canada, right? So that's the feeling that I get when people ask me that question. Like, why are you so surprised that I'm also from Canada? So this is where it comes from, and it's just like when it comes to that, and as far as like being the importance of inclusion, when somebody asks that question, it's very clear that you feel that that I'm not part of this country, in the sense of like there's no way that he could be actually from here like the rest of us, and the rest of us being like the other white people that are from here and born and raised here. So really, it doesn't sit well. And that's why it's great that people are talking about it, because I find now that people are fully, not fully aware of it, but are getting more aware of it. Other people are kind of helping each other out, kind of getting a sense of kind of what should be asked and what shouldn't be asked. For example, there's somebody in my office that is a very innocent question, because there's a little bit of confusion around it. But this person asked that question, and it was towards a black person, but the person that asked the question, they didn't realize, because it was on video. It was very confusing. The video, the person couldn't see the video, so they didn't realize that it was a black person. So all this was happening based on the person's name, as opposed to seeing the person. But then a different coworker followed up with that person, kind of being like, was that you that asked that question? So it wasn't coming from a bad place, because the person is a great person, so it's all good. But this is it, where it's like, now that the other coworker that asked the person, I mentioned it to the person, and these are two white people that are talking to each other. This other white person is now asking this person, was that you that asked that question about where are you from? I'm not sure if that was appropriate. And this is the thing where it's like, to me, I heard this full story, and I spoke to them both, and everything was cool. But to me, that kind of conversation wasn't happening like last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. So having people being aware of and talking about things, as far as like, yeah, because that question to a white person, it means nothing. Like and this is where and this is part of it, where it's like, sometimes when people don't have to go through situations, they don't realize how it impacts people that do have to go through a situation, right? So it's like, you can ask me that question like all day long. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind it at all, because there's the intention when you ask a white person is just like, yeah, cool. So you're from Regina, from Winnipeg, whatever. It ends there, and it's like that assumption that it's possible for the white person to be from Canada, born and raised in Canada. But now when it comes to the way that question is asked towards a black person, like, for example, it's like, yeah, no, you can't be included in this country of ours because of this or that, or like, no, it's important for me to know where your parents are from, like, more so than this white person that's standing beside you. So it really is something that is not sitting well. But the reality is that more and more people are talking about it, and with the talking about it, what's happening is that people aren't asking that question as much, which is good. Or people are like not calling people out, but being more aware of how that question is landing with people, which is brand new because that wasn't a thing before. People would just ask it. And this is the other thing, is that when people are dealing with things that they aren't used to, or kind of like yeah, that question doesn't bother me at all. So why are people so sensitive when they hear it and this and that? Those are the things that were happening before more so. And some people are still talking like, with that kind of terminology and language where it's like, yeah, people are so sensitive. It's like, doesn't really matter. You know, it's like if this thing impacts a person this way or that way, it doesn't matter what you think is the level of sensitivity that's appropriate or that should be allowed, right? If this is impacting somebody, that's all that matters, and kind of stop there. And then, so this is where it's like people are doing much better at that. There's still, and there's always going to be some people that aren't really like on the same page as far as like not really caring about the next person as much. For sure, it's always going to be the case, but you see a lot more people being more aware and more caring more about how the words that are being used are impacting people, and this is a beautiful thing. And just to backtrack on that campaign that uses that if I ask you where you're from, am I being racist? The same campaign has another great term where it says, I don't see color. So if I don't see a person's color, am I racist? Or it's something like along the lines of that. And that whole thing too is like back in the days, I remember that was a very common thing where people would say, oh, I don't know, it's like Roland's black, I don't see color. And that's the whole, that's the whole podcast by itself. But that's kind of the same thing where it's just like, if people don't see color and they're just saying like, oh no, I don't see color, everything's normal. People's normal level or kind of normal realm is white Christianity. So when it comes to not noticing people's different colors and the different perspectives and different thoughts and different, and the whole like diverse mindsets that people are bringing to the table, a lot of that is kind of like the normal level that people have is just kind of saying, yeah, I don't see this or that, but because what they do see is just kind of everybody's the same, or it's kind of white Christians and stuff, and it's like it's a whole different topic and stuff, but it's kind of like along those lines where it's important that we do realize that there's a lot more out there than just kind of what people feel is the norm. There's a lot more out there, and people are now doing the work that needs to get done to figure out more about what's out there and how their words and their actions are impacting other people that might not look like them or have the same culture or have the same background, but people are caring more about trying to be a better person, a better human being. So it's a blessing, and slowly it will get there, but at least people are caring enough to try and make a difference. So that's something new, and we just need to keep pushing this through, because there's a lot more work that needs to be done for sure.
Thanks again, Roland. I really appreciate you sharing all your thoughts. If you want more through the podcast or in other venues, please contact me at re.hirschberg@gov.bc.ca. I look forward to hearing your feedback, comments, and suggestions for potentially future episodes. So thank you so much, Roland.
Thank you so much, Ari. Really appreciate you putting in the work and providing this platform for myself and other BIPOC members to use our voice and to really speak our mind, because it's not happening every day. This isn't a common practice as far as giving this microphone and this audience to speak to. So Ari, I really do appreciate you, man. Thank you.